guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to go through my top 5 recommended houseplants for the lazy plant parent. That's you, that's why you're watching this video. I'm just kidding, but it's also for those people who may not necessarily have the time to care for plants or don't want all the responsibilities that comes with it. You know, maybe you're just getting into plants and you're looking for something a little bit more easier, a little bit more low maintenance. These plants are perfect and they will thrive in the kind of love you can give them, which is neglect. I'm just kidding. But for real, these are plants I've owned in the past and they're fairly easy to care for and very low maintenance. They all require very little watering. They can thrive in any lighting direction or condition. So that's either if you have a north, south, east, or west facing window, and whether that's low, medium, or bright. Although some of them may prefer more on the bright side, but they can still thrive well in a low, medium setting. They also don't need to be repotted every year or fertilized quite often. They're perfect for people who tend to forget they even have plants at home. I always suggest for beginners that before bringing plants into your home, that you assess the home environment you have. You know, what kind of lighting do you get, and then figure out what kind of plants will thrive in that environment. But I also think it's as important to assess the kind of plant parent you are. Are you the type who tends to love your plants a little too much, wants to water them every chance you get, caress them, touch them, hug them, talk to them? Or are you the type of plant parent who, you know, tends to neglect them, forget that they're even there, don't want to water them, don't want to repot them? Regardless of the type of plant parent you are, there's always a plant perfect for you. Obviously in this video, we're going to cover those plants that are a little bit more ideal for the plant parent who may not necessarily want all the responsibilities, but at the same time, you want to be able to flex your planty parent card amongst your planty friends and say that you have houseplants in your home and they're still alive. So without further ado, here are my top 5 recommended low maintenance houseplants for you guys. Starting with number 5, it is the VGC plant. So obviously a fairly common houseplant that you guys see often. That's because they're so easy to care for. I've actually had this guy for about 3 years now. I bought it at IKEA and I've never once repotted it at all. So he's actually further back there in my place, so gets a bit more of a medium type of light. But yeah, fairly easy, and I water this guy maybe like once a month, whether it's winter or summer. And when I do water him, I water it very little. And yeah, he shot out a few stalks. Obviously this was a lot smaller when I first got him, but fairly cool looking plant. In my opinion, I think it's one of the coolest looking plant. I love the green foliage and it's a cool piece to have in your home. Now, if you're not too fond of this, you know, type of ZZ plant, there are different varieties. I also have here the ZZ Ravens. So this is a little bit smaller, but the leaves on this one is that black color. So fairly cool looking, very unique if you guys don't want this more of the traditional green. And then I also recently got this type of ZZ plant. It's called the Zenzi. I recently just got this and I didn't even know this existed, but pretty much it is like a dwarf version of this plant. And you guys can see here that the leaves are a little bit closer together and the stalks are obviously shorter. It's so cute, so really cool looking. Great for like a tabletop, whether it's on your office desk or, you know, coffee table. But yeah, definitely a highly recommended plant in my opinion. So coming in at number 4, it is the Ponytail Palm. So this guy's a pretty cool looking plant, and why I love this guy is, first of all, I also got this at IKEA 3 years ago, the same time I got that ZZ plant, and I haven't repotted it, but I think I might need to repot it this year for once because I want this trunk that you guys see here. Obviously it's such a cool looking unique type of plant. You can see this thick trunk, also called like an elephant's foot. That's the nickname of it, and you guys can see why. And it has these cool you know, foliage that's kind of like just makes it look so much more tropical. I've actually seen a really big one that's like a floor plant when I went to like Mexico and I stayed at an Airbnb. There was no other plant there except for this huge Ponytail Palm, and I was like, man, that is such a statement piece for your home. Look, makes your place look so cool and unique, and just gives that tropical vibe. So definitely highly recommended. Again, I don't water this guy often, once a month. Very similar to the way I water my ZZ plant, very little. Sometimes I'll just use my hand, put some water in it, and just kind of splash a bit on it. So easy and so cool looking. So again, you guys can get these in different sizes, but definitely this is really, you know, honestly, the more I look at this plant, the more I actually want a big one because it reminds me of when I first saw that huge one. So I'm definitely going to repot this guy just to promote the a bit more growth, because he's definitely, like, you know, it's been 3 years in that same little container. But yeah, so coming in at number 3, it is the Sansevieria snake plant. So obviously snake plants, another common house plant, really easy to care for and can thrive in any lighting condition, and they come in so many varieties. So this one is the cylindrical one, and I also got this, I think, at IKEA around the same time those Ponytail Palm and ZZ plant. But I have this guy in my bathroom, and I don't have any windows in my bathroom. The only light it gets is from my bedroom. If it even reaches that far, so it does get a bit more on the lower lighting side, but you know, it's thriving really well. I've actually propagated this a few times, and like I mentioned, they come in many varieties, so this is just one of them. Other favorite is this Sansevieria Samurai. It has this cool looking thick kind of leaves that's really like stiff, you know, so you don't want to fall on this guy because these are really sharp, but really unique and really cool. But obviously my favorite Sansevieria ever is this Whalefin, and he sits right here, so it gets a bit more in the bright light. And you guys know I featured this one in my top 10 favorite houseplants. I did a few videos ago, and I think this came in at number 8. And come on, you guys can see why this is such a beauty. I love this thick kind of leaf he's got going on here. Such a statement piece. Literally, you guys can put this anywhere in your home, make it look like a sculpture. But he does produce a bit of babies, so you can either, you know, remove this and plant it on its own or keep it. I've done both, and yeah, I water this guy and all my Sansevierias quite similarly, where, you know, maybe once a month again, and very little watering. But yeah, they can thrive in any lighting conditions, so they're perfect for those of you guys who you know. But I'm telling you right now, if you get one of these plants, you're gonna notice it because it's so unique, especially if it's your only plant. But yeah, so that is number 3. So coming in at number 2, it is the jade plant. So this is obviously a succulent, so they do prefer to be more on the bright light side, but you know, they can still do well in a low and even in a north facing window, because my barber has one. He's got a huge one, and his store is facing like the north side, and he even has it further back as well too, and it's thriving really well. But I've had this guy for almost 3 years as well. Started off as this tiny little plant right here, and obviously I'm trying to grow this into more like a tree shaped form. That's how you guys can see this thick trunk he's got going on. And yeah, pretty cool looking plant. Like I said, it's a succulent, so you don't need to water these guys often. Again, maybe like once a month, especially for this size of a container. And fairly unique looking. They come also different styles and different varieties, so you guys don't have to stick with this kind of traditional one that I have here. And depending on the size of jade you want, you know, you guys can get something that's a little bit more small like this and grow it to a tree form like this, or you guys can get something that's pretty huge, and that can be a statement piece because they are pretty cool looking, especially if you get like a really humongous one that's more of a floor plant than more of a tabletop type of plant. So the other easy plant that I think is also low maintenance, and again very similar to all of these guys, where they require very little watering, you know, any lighting condition, don't need to be repotted often, is the open TI. So also known as a prickly pear, obviously a cactus, and look how cute and adorable this guy is with his bunny ears right there. So really easy to care for. You know, they do prefer a bit more in the medium to bright light, but again can thrive in any lighting condition, and very little watering as well. And these bunny ears are so easy to propagate. You can literally just like pluck them off, plant them directly into cacti soil, and that's that. So if you want to flex your plant to parenthood card, not only are you able to keep these houseplants alive, but now you can say you propagated a few plants. Definitely get yourself one of these. But yeah, so those are 5 low maintenance plants that I definitely recommend for you know, plant parents that, you know, don't want the responsibility of it. There are a couple more plants I would say you guys should also check out. These are some bonus plants, I guess. They are the aloe plant. So obviously part of the succulent family, and again another fairly very easy low maintenance type of plant. Requires little watering, you know, does prefer more on the bright side, but can thrive also in a more medium or low light. It just probably won't grow as fast, but maybe that's great for you guys because, you know, if you do want your aloe plant to go bigger, you're gonna have to repot this at least once a year or once every 2 years. For the most part, fairly easy, fairly low maintenance. I have never fertilized this guy once, and you know, I've had him for about 3 years now. Started off as a small pup, and like I mentioned, I think everyone should have an aloe plant because they're perfect for like burns in case you're cooking something and hot oil spills in your hand, which has happened to me a few times. So it came in really handy, just taking a leaf off and obviously, you know, putting that aloe gel on your hand to ease the burn, and really helps heal your burn quite quickly. But definitely a highly recommended plant, you know, whether you're a beginner, an expert, because I think aloes are cool. And the other type of plant I would say is another fairly low maintenance in my opinion anyway, is the Hoya. So Hoyas come in many varieties, many species. I think there's over 200 types. This one is the Macrophylla, and this one's the Vietnam. And if you guys haven't seen my Hoya collection tour, definitely check that out. I think I got about 10 different types. But the reason why I think these guys are so low maintenance is they're kind of semi-succulent in my opinion, so they require very little watering. You know, prefer more medium to bright light, but can also work well in a north-facing window. You know, I had a Hoya in my office one time, and it was thriving. This was actually my office last winter, and I thrived really well during that time. But they're so low maintenance because these guys you actually don't need to repot at all. I've heard Hoyas, you know, can remain in their container for like 10-15 years, and on top of that, they produce pretty cool looking blooms. So really unique type of plant, especially if you guys are not wanting a lot of these more common house plants and you want a little bit more of a different variety, but again very low maintenance. I would definitely suggest look into Hoyas. But yeah, so those are all the plants I would recommend for the low maintenance type of plant parents. Again, these are plants I've owned and cared for, obviously. I'm sure there are other types of plants that are also fairly easy and low maintenance that's perfect for you guys. So for those of you guys who have a little bit more experience and know those types of plants, comment below and let these guys know what other plants you would recommend that are fairly easy and low maintenance. And for the rest of you guys, what kind of plant parent are you? I am curious. Are you more on the loving too much side, or are you more in the, I'm gonna forget I even have a houseplant? Let me know by commenting below. Other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace.